song written by Bear Fox from Akwesasne, Mohawk, singer-songwriter. And she sings it in the Mohawk manner, so I'm going to attempt. Water, we love you, yes we do. Water, we love you, yes we do. Water is precious. Water is sacred. Now we are hey ya. Yo hi ho way ya hey. Yo hi ho way ya hey. Got not no. Got not no. Now we are hey ya. Oh, thanks. Is this the working mic? Okay, cool. Hey y'all. Hey. Hi, my name's Bella. How are you? Hi. Oh my gosh, you guys are so interactive. This is so cool. Nisanani me, I am Nisanan. Hadedi Nisanane Kawi, this is Nisanan country. Wenam Udadao, Nise Kadi. Welcome to our land. Let's go. So real quick, we're just doing a quick little land acknowledgement. We want to take the time to recognize the land where we hold this event in Auburn, California, as the original homeland of the Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok people. And so, despite years of struggle due to colonialism, these tribes remain and thrive on this land. Obviously, I'm right here. And we aim to continue honoring the land, its history, and to maintain relationships with the local tribes. And we encourage everyone in here to do the same. That is my bit. And now we are welcoming Stan. Y'all know him. He's awesome, dope as heck. Yeah.
I'm going to invite you to stand up. This is not a show. This is not a spectacle. This is, it's participatory, right? We all have to be a part of this. This is the 40th anniversary of Martin Luther King Day Celebration Memorial in Auburn. It's the 9th anniversary of the Hip Hop Congress leading. So let's give them a blessing doesn't just come from somewhere else and down upon us. It's inside of us. We have to bring it up. It's a blessing to be alive. We're alive. We're here together. And if you'll notice, if you've been here before, you notice we have moved the arrangements. There's no audience. And then the stars of the show. It's all of us together. And what I'd like to do is bless this spot here. It's just like Bella said. As natives, we've been waiting for 500 years for you to arrive. And you've been here before, we know that. The evidence is here. But to arrive in heart and soul with us, to live with us, as we are living with every group that came along. So, what I'm asking this year, most of you are also serious. We smile at each other. Let's celebrate now. Let's celebrate our triumphs, our hurts, our pains, our trauma. Haven't you had enough now?
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
I'm even tired of saying how downtrodden I am, what an ethnic minority I am, and all of that. Those don't tell the full truth. Full truth now is we have a new space. It's up to all of us to participate in that space. We call this democracy. We're the new face of democracy, like it or not. And the theme this year, the blessing, stand our ground. We need to stand for who we are. Not waver with the wind or listen to the news. We have to make news now. This is our time to make the news. This is making news. I hope you take photos, put it on social media. It's going out live. We're real life people. This is a real life situation right now. We're at a crossroads. Yeah? Yeah. Very nice. Where are you going? How are you going to get there? That's the theme of this year. And thank you, Natalie. Strategy. We have to live by a strategy. We can't just keep running and reacting, protesting, complaining, and whining. We have to have a plan every day, individually, as families, as communities, as nations. We're on the march now. We've marched, but now we're standing and we're getting ready for the big march, yes? So on behalf of the native spirit, on behalf of the sacred land, let's do this. We welcome all of you. If you've never been welcomed before, welcome to America. Our America. You came here by choice, or by mistake, or by however you got here. You're here now, and we accept everybody. The indigenous way is inclusion, unity, and love, and wisdom. And the strategy is the attainment now of higher intelligence. Come on now. We're good at all this, right? We have to lift ourselves up high now and use higher intelligence. And that's strategy. Being consistent, being sustainable, that we sustain ourselves with relying on everyone else. It's each of us now. We're all leaders. Leaders are not appointed. Leaders step up.
Hello, streaming.
got to introduce Mike Jordan.
And then I go after that.
Thank you all for being here.
He's gonna
I'll
talk for a
do
minute.
all the speaking to, take
Thank you all for being here. Just looking around this room and when we were setting up last night, thank you for fulfilling the vision by being here, by being a part of this. I hope we can carry everything we talk about and learn here forward into our communities, into our workplaces, into our families. It's not my time to talk, so I'm going to pass it off in a second, but I'm going to jump on stage and do it right. Because we are live streaming right now. And I'll just add one more time, we are on YouTube and Facebook on the Auburn Hip Hop Congress pages. All you got to do is look it up and it should show up as a live video. If you guys would like to share that out, that would be great. Or if anybody is wanting to tune in that you know, please send them that link or ask me and I'll send it. Okay. So I'd like to introduce our host MC for the day. I'm honored to introduce you all to a good friend of ours, somebody I've gotten to know and get to know better over the last 15 years since I got brought into the culture through Sacramento hip hop. I'm very grateful for all that it's introduced me to and opened up in my life. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for people like Mike Jordan that opened the door and welcomed me in and showed me a life that I could be a part of, that I felt like I wanted to be a part of. And that's the culture of hip hop and the community that I grew to know through that. And with that, I'd like if Mike Jordan could come to the stage. This is my brother Mike Jordan from the mighty TPR, the People's Revolution. And his group, the Tribe of Levi. Thank you for being here, bro.
Thank you for having me. How y'all doing? That was tepid. How y'all doing? That was more like it. Being an MC, I know that you probably expected me to come up here and like do a song or something, but I actually want to talk a little bit about history and activism, because I have a little bit of a special perspective on Dr. King and Mrs. Parks and a lot of those folks, because my dad is from Montgomery, Alabama. Dr. King was my granddad's friend. Mrs. Parks is my great-grandma's best friend, right? We think of these people, we hear about these people, they're like these legendary figures, right? These are just people like you and like me, but they stepped into the moment. So I'm going to share some things about those stories that are often left out. And I'm going to come off the cuff. So if it's messy or if it's factually incorrect, sorry, fact check everything that I say. Just because I'm the big homie doesn't mean I'm always right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to start off with the bus boycott, right? Everybody knows about that. Rosa Parks didn't want to sit in the back of the bus. They said she was tired. She didn't want to get up. Come on now.
Tell the story.
One does not simply do a boycott, right? How many of y'all have ever successfully conducted a boycott? Where would you start? And we have the internet now, right? We got social media. We can coordinate. Before all of that happened, there was a multi-week workshop that was carried out by the labor unions that Mrs. Parks attended, that my great-grandma Johnny Carr attended, that Edie Nixon attended, a lot of other luminaries. They were there, and they taught them how to do it. Mrs. Parks was not the only person who was in that role. She was the person who was selected to be the face of that movement, because there were two other young women who had done the same thing. One was a teenage mom, so they smeared her reputation. The other one, there was nothing wrong with her, but they just made up a bunch of lies about her dad. Mrs. Parks was perfect. She was a church, she was from the church. She was a Sunday school teacher. She was my aunt's Sunday school teacher. She was easy on the eyes, but not too attractive. This is politics. This is real.
That's real.
She was light-skinned, right? And she had unimpeachable character. Her and her whole family. There's nothing you could say about her. So if in your mind, when you hear this story, it says, oh, she was tired one day, she didn't want to get up, and all this other stuff happened. Nah. Nothing was accidental. Nothing was accidental. But here's the other thing. Nobody thought they were going to be famous. They were just regular people. So this is how Dr. King got famous. I'm starting with the bus boycott because Dr. King was, I think, 26 at the time. He had just moved to Montgomery. Dr. King was very different at that time than the man that you are familiar with. And I'm not going to talk about like scandal or anything like that. Dr. King was an American man from the South. What do you think that means in terms of the types of things that he owned? Dr. King had an arsenal of firearms. It wasn't his idea to embrace nonviolence. He was like, if they come in this house, they're getting carried out.
Come on now.
Believe that. He was not a weak dude. But there was another man named Bayard Rustin. Okay? Bayard Rustin was a very, very, very brave man. We're talking about an openly gay black dude in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Bayard Rustin, who is actually, I heard that they're making a movie about him. Finally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bayard Rustin is the dude that convinced Dr. King to embrace nonviolence as a tactic. And here's the thing about nonviolence. Does an elk practice nonviolence with a lion? That's not a rhetorical question. When you're mugged in an alley and they have the drop on you, are you practicing nonviolence? So what is the crux of nonviolence? What is it?
Don't fight back.
But is it just not fighting back? Is it that simple?
No.
Is a rabbit practicing nonviolence against an ocelot?
Civil disobedience.
The crux, the key to nonviolence, and the reason, and by the way, Dr. King was kind of like iffy on accepting it because he knew that like Gandhi was racist, but tactics are tactics, right? What works, works. The key to nonviolence is having the capacity to do harm. If you're helpless, nothing has changed. You haven't disrupted anything. You haven't given me any reason to think of anything differently whatsoever. You have to be strong and powerful to be nonviolent. It has to be a choice. Nonviolence is really about, and as you know, Dr. King developed and his philosophy developed, and he got more and more away from civil rights issues and more into like human rights issues, right? Economic issues, the things that underlie all of these systems that are put in place to mask what's really going on and keep us at each other's throats. The more he got into it, the more he understood that, you know, there are different seasons for everything, right? And everybody working together makes it all work. So I guess what I mean, what I want to convey through all of that and tying it in with hip hop, right? One of the cool things about hip hop is that one of the things that always appealed to me about hip hop is the suite of tools that it presents you, right? As a kid, it's like, if you're into visual art, you know, you got that. Or if you're like into dark mysteriousness and you want to have like a secret identity, like you go out at night, you do graffiti, and nobody even knows who you are, right? If you're there's so many people I've met, and I was like, oh man, you're you? Okay. If you're kind of really studious and you like to nerd out on stuff, there's DJing. If you want to express yourself, or if you like the limelight, there's MCing. If you're very physical, you just want to move, there's dancing, right? There's a whole suite of tools to help you express yourself. It's kind of like therapy for broke people. That's why so many people honestly are like, oh, hip hop saved my life, because it probably did. There would have probably been a lot more unfortunate incidents otherwise, right? The reason why I say that is not everything is for everybody. Nonviolence works because of everything else that's happening too. When you think about the movement, you have to think about groups that may not have the same philosophy, but are working towards the same end. And strategy is about leveraging that. Because the SNCC wouldn't have been able to do the work that it did if it weren't for more militant groups. And if you look at who the government really saw as a threat, they decapitated everybody, but they said the Black Panthers were the greatest national security risk to America. Why? Because they started free lunches. Free lunches and free healthcare. I'm not joking. They showed people how to make corporations and government not matter. So, all of this impromptu stuff, I hope that I've given you something of value and something to think about. But we have to strategize in a new way, you know. And one thing one thing Grandma Carr used to tell me is like, you guys are a new generation. You can't just do what we did. It's not going to work in the same way. The powers that be have adapted. So we have to leverage the tools that we have, but also be mindful of being sucked into using tools or weapons that they have left for us to use. We have to really be creative and come up with some of our own systems, because some of the strategies that we're using, if we're not careful, will work against us and will make it easier to disrupt what we're doing. So I don't have any answers. I'm trying to figure out everything. I'm trying to figure out parenthood. You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out how to be a successful musician. I'm trying to figure out everything in life. I think like a lot of us are, but you know what? So is Dr. King.
Come on.
All these people that we're celebrating, all this movement that we're celebrating is just regular people like you and I stepping into the moment and fulfilling the need as it presented itself to them. A 26-year-old man who just took over leadership of a church in a town that he did not grow up in, with people that he did not know, became the face of a movement that he was not actually leading, because that's what his people needed from him. That's what his congregation needed from him. They needed him to do that. You know, it's unfortunate, but you know, the times, the 50s, whatever, they needed a man to be the spokesperson, and they needed a youthful, vital man with power and spiritual intensity. And the other thing I want to say is, these people were not perfect. You may be aware of some of Dr. King's indiscretions. It doesn't matter. Nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. You're not perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. He's not perfect. Nobody here is. It doesn't matter. Don't let that stop you from stepping into the moment, because the moment needs you and you and you and you. Specifically, your moment needs you. That all. I forgot I was the host. I've got a bunch of awesome people coming on after me. But first, I would like to introduce, and you've already heard him leading the march, my man, Unity Lewis. Unity has been making music, performing, drawing, painting, sculpting, Since he was 3, this man is an art monster. He started taking it serious, really recording music, founded his first rap group in Los Angeles when he was 13. In 2000, he moved to the Bay. He completed his bachelor's in fine arts at the California College of the Arts, and then began working on completing his teacher's credential for single subject art and his master's in education at Mills College. So this is an educated and talented brother. And since 2001, Unity has taught hip hop, art, and life skills in public schools across the Bay Area and on the island of Guam, where the Guam legislature awarded a resolution for his contribution to students' lives in 2005. So for over 20 years, my man has been creating, releasing, and performing his own music and art full-time, also curating art exhibits, continuing to grow as an art educator. He's got a lot of really exciting things coming out, new projects. He's gotten, can I tell them about, he's got an exhibition coming up at Crocker Art Museum next year. Yeah, that's big. He's collaborated with artists such as Dead Prez, Sly Stone, George Clinton. Wow. Oscar Brown Jr., Umar bin Hassan of The Last Poets, just to name a few. As a visual artist and curator, he is exhibited and featured in publications alongside Jacob Lawrence, Elizabeth Catlett, Hank Willis Thomas, Betty Saar, Samela Lewis, and many others. So I would like to present to all of you, Unity Lewis.
Man, I thought you was gonna do the abridged version of that introduction. That's what's up, though. Amazing words, straight up truth, you know, insight, knowledge, words to live by. We're gonna run a little sound check. I didn't get to do a sound check. You could just play this one real quick, and we're gonna hop right into it. Make sure the levels is right. Check 1 2 1 2. We're getting some music. Check. Okay, cool. That's good. All right, y'all. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna come right here with the people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna need y'all to bring the same energy y'all was rocking with me with outside. All right. Live the dream. Of Martin Luther King. Work together as a team. I had a dream, I had a vision. I wrote it to precision. Equal rights for black and white. So back and white, you're living, they were sure back in the day. A brother couldn't get paid 12 hours a day, like every day, for less than minimum wage. And we'd be lucky if we got a 9 to 5 to stay alive. See how hard it was for us to strike, but we still survived. And Jim Crow was in effect. And homie, it seemed like everywhere we went, we still was in check. They tying ropes around our necks, setting flames to them crosses. The KKK's got shot, though they was packing those shots on houses, thought they was the bosses. Killing families and such. All because my skin was black, I didn't have much. But who's this brother who opened up my eyes? King, he took me up out of the darkness. See, he made me realize that I have a future, a place upon this earth. He told me that it's not only his, but brother, it's your turn. So recognize and realize and set your spirit free. As long as we here, we should have equality amongst you and me. I ain't caring what your color. It ain't no need in hating me when we all sisters and brothers on the real. We got no time for war or racial hate. We need to try to find ourselves and get our minds straight. And look at what we did to each other in the past. And find a way to fix it, cause if not, we ain't gonna last. Live the dream of Martin Luther King. Come on, work together. The team. Equal rights for everyone. For all our people under the sun. Yeah, my third eye's open, scoping, hoping for better days. I stay proactive, helping my people turn the page into a brighter future where our vision set ablaze. Paving the way for the youth to know the truth and engage. Refuse to be statistics, so we build comfortable districts. We plant our roots firm in the ground and we keep growing with it. You can't uproot us, the truth is that we the revolution. We make our plan, claim our rightful land, and we keep it moving. You can never gentrify our assets or repress us. Can't kill us with no weapons by essence. We protected. Matter of fact, we are the ancestors just resurrected. Came back to manifest again, and it's gonna be respected. We harmonize with nature, stay in tune with the creator. Always to preserve the environment that are sustainable and harvest bountifully. The universe can count on me. Shinto with the flow divinity pouring out of me emphatically. demonstrate a large analogy, reflecting the best in you, because it's just from you to me. It shows you the best in you that your side allows you to see. You see when we can learn, and I move off that energy. We sparking some chemistry for harmonious energy. Surrendering to our purpose, that's truly how it should be. We go beneath the surface for free. We came to celebrate like what a precious gift blessed be. Live the dream. Of Martin Luther King. We gotta work together. As a team. We need equal rights. For everyone. For all our people. Under the sun. Yeah. Much love, y'all. Happy MLK Day. Peace.
Give it a one more time for you. Come on up here, Natalie. This is Natalie Zapata. I'm gonna give her a real intro later, but first, she's got some stuff to say to y'all.
So I'm not good with the details introducing people, but I'll tell you why we have the keynote speaker, Ethel, who came out today all the way from Oakland. I had the pleasure, it may have been 2 months ago, to be on a Zoom call meeting, Take the Cities Back. When was it?
November.
In November, okay. So, and she just inspired me. Everything she said was everything I think all of us need to hear at this time right now. And I was thinking about who could we bring out? Who's who we need for our community? And it was a long shot because we didn't really know each other yet. And I'm just so grateful. And that's why. And then Jordan's going to tell the who in the bio. But I just want you to know, like, we're so grateful. Came all the way out from Oakland, and I think it's just what our community needs. So I'm very excited.
Oakland is of huge cultural importance to African Americans. So I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Ethel Long-Scott, who is with the Women's Economic Agenda Project in collaboration with the Laney Poor People's Campaign, Care for Community, Hip Hop Congress, and League of Revolutionaries for nearly 50 years. She has been a grassroots community organizer, social issues advocate, political campaign strategist, and nonprofit director, primarily in the city of Oakland, California. She has worked with labor, the housing insecure, Moms for Housing, the Oakland renters strike, and people fighting as essential workers in health justice for poor and disabled people. She's on a mission to increase social and economic justice and economic security, and works tirelessly to create opportunities for constructive social change where none seem to exist. She maintains a keen understanding of current public policy, media, and politics, and works cooperatively and effectively with all kinds of people across racial and class lines. So it is my tremendous pleasure and honor to introduce to you Ethel Long-Scott.
Oh, you gotta look at us.
The table about to turn. The table about to turn. Yeah. I've been flipping through my timeline.
Come on now.
Come on now. I love it. My city crowd out. I got to cool down, but I'm under pressure. I can put my fist go.
Come on now.
Oh, when I play, when I'm
You feeling us now?
I got to cool down, but I'm under pressure. I keep my hands up, my mind clean.
Hey.
With a new dream. I'm kicking out the old regime. Liberation, elevation, education. America, he's alive. The whole world about to testify. I said the whole world about to testify. And the table about to turn.
Turn. Turn. Come on now. Turn. Thank you. I might start standing up and then I'll sit down.
Oh, you're gonna stand up?
I might. Turn. Come on now. Auburn, let me hear you. If you're feeling this, come on now. If you're feeling Janelle, come on now. What tables are we turning? Come on now. Hey. Woo! Love you, sis. Hey. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm an old warrior. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm going to do a little test up here. Let me first say, bringing greetings from the community of Oakland to this wonderful community of Auburn. We celebrate your commemoration. We are in just over ecstatic about your effort to ensure that we are about being the change that we need in America. That's the table that's got to turn. So I got a young woman's mind and an old lady's body. So I'm going to start up standing up. But I may sit down, but I'm not sitting down on the job, okay? So just so you know, and this kind of happens because I've been on this battlefield literally since I was 17 years old. Didn't choose to be and didn't expect to be in it even this long. But I've been fortunate enough in this human rights pursuit to meet leaders such as yourselves, leaders such as that wonderful spoken word artists. I know Hip Hop Ca is always trying to correct me on those things, but I see it that way because I see it as both not only entertainment, but the teaching and the passing of that knowledge from one generation to the next. And I thank you so much for Natalie, Rocky, and the earlier presenters. Mike, I never met you before, but you're a kindred spirit. And I'm so glad. I don't know where you dug up all that stuff on me. And all the right stuff I'm going to agree with, not any of that other stuff, or going to jail or raising hell or any of that. It was another chick. Okay. So I want to kind of start out in my, well, this has all been formal. We really must know that we're at a crucial turning point. So when I was asked in the capacity to kind of share what my thoughts are, I never asked a warrior that. Because we've been studying, reading, and thinking about these things. When you look at this tremendous piece that Janelle did, you think she just did that kind of like in a one kind of meeting stat. This has been on her mind. This has been remunerating and going on, and she's wanted to say something in a very specific kind of way. But I want us to think about that moment that she speaks to, which is when in 2020, another Black man was murdered by the police. And America erupted. America in all its colors, all its genders, all of our various cultures said, oh, hell no. This is not about to go down like this. And communities in the middle of a pandemic marched for weeks, months. But we didn't just march. We taught one another. We shared education. I'm so grateful to our young people who said, these banners that you keep holding up from the people defeated in the damn Civil War. Yeah, Nikki, the damn Civil War. You keep holding up as being what we should be working towards. No, That's behind. We are looking forward. We have the idea of reshaping this future. And our young people brought it out and held it up and said, no, America, you can't go any further. In fact, if we're going to stop what we understand to be fascism in America, then it will take not only being against something, but being for something. And this brother stole my words. And that's okay. That's okay. Because what I know is there's a continuity. So let me just talk about, and I really appreciate Mike's opening on Dr. King. I think it's so wonderful that we're here once again. But we need to remember what Dr. King fought for. You know, he looked around in 1968 and he saw that we needed a poor people's campaign. Now, I want you to put a pin there, because it wasn't just that he saw people were hurting and we needed to do something different, or that, gosh darn, I don't even know if he necessarily had that letter, the letter from Selma, but he knew that we needed a movement to have a vehicle to move this thing. And it became the backbone of what supports the work of this country, even to this day. So Memphis and the garbage workers, when they stood up and the service industry stood up, they were at the beginning of this, and they had a notion, a set of demands in their mind, that just thinking that we can just be all right with the scraps that fall from the tables of the rich, from the powerful, from those who are better educated likely than these men at that time, maybe even just lucky. He knew we couldn't depend on private companies to do the right thing by everybody. Only governments have the power and the ability to take care of all of the people. So he planned a campaign to make our federal government do the right thing. Now that was more than 2 generations ago. So that's 50 years, y'all. So what we do see, we look around in 2024 and we can ask ourselves this: with sprawling homelessness, tent encampments in every city, while homes are being built by the rich. Certainly, if you haven't been to Oakland recently, the skyscrapers will blow your mind. I live and work there for more than 40 years. And for each one of them damn skyscrapers, you can find an encampment, whole encampments of men and women, often who are working and living in bridges, eating out of the garbage cans, and really represent the shame of our nation. And it's not only in Oakland, any town USA. Maybe you got a few of them right here in Auburn, but I can tell you all throughout our towns and cities. And it does not have to be this way in this rich nation. We see that people who cannot get it. We see that drug companies are making gobs of money. And if anybody tells him one more time about how we got this price fixing and price saving on one damn drug, my hair literally is going to go on fire. Because yes, we need that. But gosh darn it, in the richest name, I'm being nice because the babies are here. And I so love the babies. And I don't want them to leave thinking, man, that lady was cussing mommy. What is that potty mouth? So I'm keeping it PG from all the fam. But also book bannings. I almost keep trying to say book bannings, Natalie, because it's not that doggone far in terms of if you don't like what somebody's saying, you're going to shut them down. And threaten librarians. Who goes after librarians? I mean, what have we descended to? I know we're going to talk about that some more later in this discussion. I could go on, but I got to. Do we really see ourselves any closer to MLK's dream? Brother, that was your theme today and in society? Or does our society now, as it did then, simply close its eyes to the things and atrocities it never stops producing? Can somebody say ceasefire now for Palestine? One of the problems about getting old, too many visions. babies, grandmas, children, disabled, any doggone body, hospitals, target of where we shoot. Whose morals are these? They're not mine, they're not yours, but our dollars are being used to pay for, justify, and advance these measures. And they will stay that way until we stand up, and organize and fight that we need to stop the Israeli fascists as well as we need to stop the American fascists. There we have a unity. So Dr. King was kind of facing a similar situation. And so my theme in response to Sister Natalie and Brother Rocky's request was an answer to the strategy piece, and that Mike so well laid out and gave history to. In 2024, vote for economic democracy like your life depends on it. Now, I said vote, and some of y'all might say, well, no, these clowns have been having us vote. You know, yes, they kept running out. Oh, we're going to get the Voting Rights Act. Oh, we're going to get George Floyd piece passed. Or we're going to get this, that, and the other thing. Don't talk about no student debt, because we can talk about it, but it'll be very few getting it. And oh my goodness, the Dixiecrats organized one more time to stop us. Wow. But guess what? That is the particular battlefield. So I want you to have another, remember I said put a pin in the protests of 2020. I want you to put another pin, because we're living in an interesting time. And that is a brother by the name of Frederick Douglass, 1856. He was a man that was a clear abolitionist, and he had to navigate this path. On the one hand, the political parties were blowing up, y'all, all over the place. But on the other hand, he was a dedicated abolitionist. He understood, you know, these parties that were still, some of them trying to think about, well, do we really need to have equality for Black people? Do we really need to end slavery? Those were not his questions, but he understood this is a political moment. We've got to win something, and we've got to be walking two paths, staying very clear about the ultimate vision and the need to get there, but also being very practical. We need some folks to handle their business and vote. So what you're going to hear me saying, another pin, sitting out this election ain't the way to go. Okay, I got to say it. Sitting it out ain't the way to go. But you heard me say something else. That's a fourth part. We got to combine this with a political movement that is aimed at, and ain't no shame in, we are not just trying to defeat this set of gangsters. Oh, I know, they're businessmen. Oh, I know, it's the evangelicals. Oh, I know, doggone it. Arlene, I forgot. It's the high part of society, Heritage Foundation and such, that would rob our Heritage Foundation. Yes, that would rob these babies of a future to this, of if we have a planet that is livable, that will rob them of the future of being able to make those decisions. No, this is really about our ability to do as Frederick did. He had the ear of the president, but before that, he was going back and forth. Yeah, we got to handle our business in the movement. And by the way, that Republican Party, which but I know it's hard to think of, was evolving as an anti-slavery party at that time and juncture. We're going to have to be up in there. We're going to have to be in there, but not just to be suits, shoes, folks writing down names and numbers, carrying out what they want us to do, but rather elevating a vision of liberation, elevating a vision of cooperation we can have in a new society. When I talked about that first part, being the change that we want to see, that's not just some quip. And when you look at something that what Frederick Douglass did, who based on his work was able then to have that ear of one of the most influential human beings, and I have to a tribute to the fact that I can even be standing here talking to you as a Black woman, to the freedom of our people. Wasn't very perfect person, Mike. In fact, he was very imperfect. But the question was whether we are conscious or not about it or not. He understood that we had to step up into this threshold, and that we had to have a practical. The part of our strategy had to be both practical, but also driven by this broader vision. Now, how do we put those two things together? Political education. All right, now I'm going to just say it, because we got to be doing that in a much more straightforward, when they're telling us, oh, we can't talk about cooperation, but they can privatize every damn thing, which, by the way, is economic fascism. They can turn loose every social fascist we can think of, including Black cops, to beat Black people to death in the same. And it's not, for me, it's not only that they are carrying out somebody else's presence. I'm thinking now, of course, Brother Tyree Nichols in Memphis, but they're really endorsing and embracing the slaveholders' plan. We've got to be able to inform our folks, white people, they're coming after you too. They're killing your babies too. Last I saw, if you're eating out of garbage cans, nobody's looking around saying, well, is it a Black person or a white person? If you're strung out on drugs and losing your babies, and losing your babies to one or another, and I buy babies. I mean, as old as 40 or 50, because if they're your child today till you gone. And if they leave before you because of an addiction, that's not at all what we need. We need a movement that provides to people a view that we can and must make a difference. It's no big magic what a clown like Trump or DeSantis or Abbott, who have the full measure of the state to kind of implement their vision on an incremental basis, if you will, and what they are planning to do with the Heritage Project 2025 is 900-page plan. This is what your fascist government's going to look like. And this is how you are not going to have a life going forward. We got to wake our people up, and they've already got a movement that is dedicated to the fact that their dissatisfaction is expressed by these fools. We need a movement that defines what we discussed here or been discussing here represents the future we want to see. But it's not going to just be at the polling places. It's got to be in the protest that was kicked off today. It's got to be in the ongoing education work. It's got to be in the efforts of the young people that have actually, thank God, opened up another pro-peace, not simply anti-war movement. What I mean by that, because the absence of war does not mean peace. We need a peace movement, and our young people, with their valiant efforts around Palestine, have brought this together. So we've got to figure out that thing that Frederick did, navigate that process. Now, so from my standpoint, Cornell's movement, y'all need to be up in there. We need to be up in there. From my standpoint, the squad and what they're doing, we need to be encouraging and resisting the AIPC's effort to shut them down. But with what message? And let me just say, that's my 6th point. Elevating the fight for basic needs in everything we do. That's where our commonality comes in. Yes, where those of us who are unsheltered, those of us who are losing our shelter, those of us who are food insecure, health insecure, whose freedoms are being robbed by environmental justice, but in freedoms are being robbed from the Supreme Court on down. We need to have a movement that is broad and we have it. When I come to cities like these, and you all are doing this, these are conversations that are going on all across America. And until you have the platform of something like the George Floyd resistance, we didn't know that we were all kind of feeling some kind of way and understanding that we can exercise our power as a social force. Now, they don't like us to talk about that because, damn, potty mouth, sorry, babies. Darn! We can do something based on what we have in common. What is it we have in common? We have our same class, economic status. If you are not a part of the billionaires, multimillionaires, clown something, because I'm being nice, trillionaires like Elon Musk, we don't count. So we need a plan that directs us at both social fascism, which the cops, of course, Proud Boys, maybe some Moms for Moms for Liberty. Oh my God, I mixed up my girls. Moms for Liberty, because they definitely are not for the liberty of anybody in this room. But also the economic fascism. Now, I want to just make sure, because I'm probably running out of time. Natalie's been sweet enough, because I want to make sure to get some of y'all up here talking to us about what you're doing as well. What do I mean by economic fascism? How many, okay, I'm not in that part of the meeting, but if I had a show of hands that said, I was working in this agency and it determined that the government determined that we needed to privatize it so that we could make more resources available. Every time you hear that little song, that is a song for economic fascism. It's legal. It appears that it is not harmful, but it is all about harming our rights because it's essentially enthroning corporations to be dictators. Now, we can get this in our brains, and even if we have to fuss and fight about it, that's a good thing to fight about. That's the conversations that we need. I think what the young people have been doing around, I take as my examples, and what they did in Tennessee, where these legislators together took a stand around gun violence. And boy, did them corporations drop a ton of bricks on the, not, they think they're just dropping them on Black folks, right? But really on the community of Tennessee, on the state of Tennessee, to say, how dare you? Because frankly, these corporations, these billionaires, we have no rights that they are compelled to respect. And when we understand that and get that into our brains, if you're an immigrant, if you're a poor mama struggling and going to school like they do in Oakland, at Laney, sleeping in their cars and going to school, it is so outrageous. And they're not the only ones. That is becoming the norm all across the state, all across the country. We can support the military industrial complex, but we can't support the people. It only stays that way to the degree that we are disunited, unclear, and unfocused on what our strategy should be. I think that these are the things that, as we think about government, that we want to try and highlight. I've been concentrating, I want to ask the folks if they'll play 2 other slides for me at this time, and just not so much to break it up, but to get it in the stew as you think about, so what is this strategy thing got to be about, and what are these issues? So if we could get those up, I'd so appreciate it.
That Palestinian, they really had you guys thinking that Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslims were all terrorists. And in the last 2.5 months, going on 3, they've had to witness the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza in the most brutal and violent ways. This is the most well-documented genocide. They've watched this from their phones, and it's been nothing but peaceful protests and raising awareness and calling up your representatives and making these educational videos. But you know who is killing people? This is the man who killed a 6-year-old Palestinian child. And this is the man who shot 3 Palestinian students in America. And this is who has been committing genocide in Gaza. He's killed over 20,000 Palestinians in Gaza alone. And this is who's using our tax dollars to fund this genocide. And this is the man who started 2 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And after 20 years, we don't even know why we were at war. We killed millions of people and used billions and billions of dollars to go to war. This is the man who killed Gaddafi and bombed 7 different countries in 2016. He is responsible for destabilizing the Middle East even further. So next time they try to convince you that Arabs, Muslims, and Palestinians are all terrorists, you should just sit down for a second and ask yourself, am I being institutionalized right now? Am I being indoctrinated right now? They want you to think that Arabs, Muslims, and Palestinians are all about barbaric and animal. But check the numbers, check the scoreboard, check how many people have been killed here in America by terrorists. Check how many people have been killed by America in the Middle East. How many countries have been destabilized? How many leaders were killed by America? How many coups were backed by the US government? How many rebel groups were backed by the US government?
Yes.
It doesn't take too long. It's all there. It's all right in front of you. So next time they try to convince you who's a terrorist, ask yourself, who really is the terrorist here?
Bringing truth, and our young people are leading this. The other one is Charlemagne.
That's the one. That one, right?
Yep.
Oh, Charlemagne Ca. This is here.
I think President Biden historically has been a lack of a better word, a shitty elected official. But Donald Trump is the end of democracy. So you vote for Biden again? I'm not saying either or, but I think since we all ask answers, because that's what y'all doing on CNN. You like to ask answers, like you ask. You ask if Donald Trump was black, when he gets locked up, the answer to that. But I don't know the answer. So you are going to vote for Joe Biden? I think it's similar. If you Donald Trump is the end of democracy. I don't know what to tell people. And I know it sounds, when you say that now in 2024, you've heard it so much because every time there's a Republican candidate, people say, "Oh, it's the end of democracy." He's the he's the Antichrist. But this is one of those times where it really actually positively is true. I think President Biden historically has been a
Okay, so I wanted to really put those two together because I think that's the work going forward. So we're gonna have to kind of take some cues from Brother Frederick Douglass, because in 1856, not too much before the Civil War that was fought, frankly, to end slavery and provided a path that we didn't end all of slavery, because of course wage slavery still existed, but chattel slavery was brought to an end. Now that means we got to look at what is the enemy coming with and what do we need to bring to this. Everything we can do in this is so critical. So I want you to think about, in the kind of education that young sister did, simple, truthful, straight and to the point. That's what I'm talking. We got to make sure it happens in our movements as we go towards 2024. We ain't got to endorse no damn body right now. What we got to do is build our movement with clarity, what this young sister spoke, with a sense of purpose, that what we do matters. So we need to fight for people to vote as a part of a strategy for building for, this is my 7th point, political power and winning real policy changes that benefit the basic needs of all people. Again, this is what the brother kicked off with. Keeping in mind, elections matter. I don't care how mad we get, and I know a lot of my sisters and brothers on the left are like, a pox on both of their houses, and nicest way I could put it, with the babies here. And we can feel that way, some kind of way, but we got to act with a sense of responsibility. So we need to work and share experiences. Under what conditions can we get non-voters motivated to vote? And we know that when you tie issue-driven efforts, housing, public education, quality education, the question of elevating that minimum wage. Elevating the minimum wage, that's so crazy. But okay, if that's our starting point, to $15 or $27 an hour. But it has motivated a lot of our labor brothers and sisters. But I'd rather look at the UAW as the example, because they put a bunch of outlandish demands on the table. And I'm sorry, but did they take some heads and make some changes? But they had to be bold. We've got to combine those things and combine that with election campaigns. When those things have happened in this country, city by city, county by county, should have said municipality by municipality, things change. People get engaged. People have to think about, well, maybe I should run for this seat. Run for somebody, but on a platform, on a program. Electoral work, this is the third numbers. Somebody's going to count the numbers. Mike, I hope that you will help keep me honest on fact checking. Understanding that electoral work is a component of the battle for political power as a tactic, because really at the end of the day, we're trying to build a transformative power building movement. That's what this is about. The right understands that. That's why they got that 900-page document telling Supreme Court, every clown that gets elected, it don't even matter if it's Mickey or one of the dude told me mango orange or mango Trump or whatever they call him. It doesn't matter, because they got the same marching orders. Destroy electoral democracy as we know it and shove down resistance. But if we only have resistance in our mind, they can win that. Our strategies must manage the tension. Now, I've kind of said it as simple way as I could, between the basic needs movement, which all of you in some way are linked with. This brother kicked it off with the introduction of this program. It doesn't mean we're all going to be on the same page on everything, but we got to manage that tension with building this broader, larger coalition in terms of this movement. But that basic needs part, that's like sunlight to Dracula. When the ruling class hears that and we stand united like we did under George Floyd, oh my goodness, they're like, oh hell, there's something wrong up in here. We got to get them divided, because we know that's when we conquer them. I like to think about, and I know I'm going to bring it so we can bring the other folks in. I love that title. I guess it's because I'm a revolutionary. Everything, everywhere, all the time. We got to think about Texas like that, y'all. We got to raise K, doing what these children do so well. And I'm going to put children, anybody, I don't know, 55 and under. But, the bravery to shut down freeways. Is there somebody here from LA? Somebody here. Shut down freeways in Los Angeles. I'm telling you that you don't understand. People in Los Angeles don't play. They're on a freeway. They got 4 hours to get to someplace and to another destination. They're not playing. So if you're shutting down those freeways, trust me, these are folks who got not only courage, but they got some big vision. We got to bring those together. We got to think about taking action on understanding that our social economic problems, they're rooted in this system of capitalism. And guess what? We get rid of that bad boy. We get rid of the root of the problems of oppression. So they think they can tell us women what to do with our bodies. Now, we not only intend to show up at the polls, letting them know, nix it, not going to happen. But more importantly, this is what's going to happen. Abortion care is health care, baby. And we intend to affirm that on every level. This is the way we've got to move as we go forward. Really impacted people have got to lead this. The Poor People's Campaign has a saying, poverty policy kills. If we can think about how do we not only recite that, but how do we use that as a part of our direction going forward as we build coalitions? At the end of the day, we have this tremendous opportunity. We're in the midst of a huge economic and political transformation. Digital production and AI has changed the game. This is not industrial capitalism. This is AI something. And what that something is, we have to define. But we do not have to live groveling on the ground, kissing this and that other one's behind to try and save our children and ourselves. I leave you with these last pieces. The Chilean workers and that revolution has had many, many lessons. And most recently, they came together to affirm in the Constitution, which is more than a manifesto, it's an assertion of what the future is going to be. And that is pretty much that resources need to be public. We want every quarter needs to be arguing that out. So you don't have to agree with me on all of this, but I tell you what, whatever that future is going to be, it is up to us. I thank you, Auburn, for hearing me out. I thank you for having me. Much love to y'all.
Can y'all give it up one more time, please, for Ethel? That was beautiful. Thank you for your message and your words. And I mean, there's a couple of things that I just want to remind you of that tie into what you were saying. One, all right, don't think just because like we had Obama or LeBron James or whatever that things are cool. Frederick Douglass was the most famous man in America and the most photographed man in the world. And he was famous for being an escaped slave while slavery was still legal. He could have been arrested and taken back to the South at any point. All right. So just because somebody's doing good doesn't mean everybody's doing good. The second thing is, and this has always been weird to me, like anti-fascism is not bad. There was this thing called World War II, right? And like, there were these really bad guys, and they all got together and they tried to take over the world. And they were fascists. And we got together with our buddies and we smashed them. Okay? So like, being anti-fascist is extremely American. Unless you're interested in living under a new version of feudalism where corporations own everything and you don't actually own anything, you're just allowed the privilege of using it periodically, then we need to make some changes. So vote for economic democracy like your life depends on it, because it does. All right. So with that, I would like to introduce my friend, my sister. This is, it's funny that Rocky and Natalie like gassed me up so much, because like I would not be who I am without them. And these are folks that are from the community, of the community, and for the community. They don't have any other agenda. They're not trying to promote themselves or their products or their projects like I am, right? They're not like, they're just here for us, you know? And ever since I met Natalie, she always struck me with her passion for stepping into the moment. Like what I was talking about earlier, that's exactly what she is all about and what Rocky is all about. So with that, it is my privilege and my pleasure to introduce Natalie Zapata.
Thank you. That was so fun. Okay, so I'm gonna grab something. There's some things going on in our community right now, and I really want to highlight those community voices. I've invited some people out to talk about it and educate. I think awareness on what's going on is just so important, and for every single person in this room to at least know what's going on in the community with our education system, with the needs of our youth. And so I will be kind of bringing some people up, and I also this right here is going to be talked about, but if before you leave and you haven't signed this petition, in fact, I'll just say to save some time, then we can hear some better things from our speakers. But this is for our school board to have a plan before making yet another wild transition in less than a year's time. It's just asking for a plan. That's all. My speakers are going to speak a little more to it, but this is real important. This is an easy action that can be done. I know we're busy, but there's many roles in a revolution. We don't all have to be protesting. We can be behind the scenes. We can just be doing our jobs well for the people, caring about each other. Many roles in the revolution. We can all do something. So I would like to invite up, actually, we're going to start with Daniela Zimmerman. Can you come on up? Where is she? And actually, I do want to say something about Leslie, who's Daniela's mom, and this is the first time we've done this event without her, and we just love her so much, and I love Daniela and the whole family. So I know Leslie and Millie's here watching over us. So
there's a picture of them back there by the cave.
Yes.
Thank you, Natalie. Wow, we're going there with all of the big issues today. Many of you may be familiar with the fact that a lot of the local school districts in Placer County have been making policies that target youth from the LGBTQ community. And as a retired teacher, and as the mom of an LGBT adult youth, he's a youth, he's a young adult, what can I say? And so one of the things that we need is for people to get involved. Some of you have been going to school board meetings and speaking out, and that's so important. And writing letters when you can't physically get to the meetings, because it's hard to go to the meetings. They're at night after you've been working all day and they go on forever, right? But the letters, if you write letters, that also helps. And, because they keep track of those things. So I'm here today to represent PFLAG. And you may or may not have heard of PFLAG. PFLAG Greater Placer County is the local chapter of a national organization that was started back in 1973 by the mom of a young gay man who went out and marched publicly in support of her gay son. So we just had our, big 50th anniversary. So the chapter here has been around for about 15 years. And I'm on the board, and my colleague Paul back there is on the board. It's a resource here in Placer County, and I wanted to kind of let you know what it is, because it's one place where you can get involved to help make a difference for the community around us, our loved ones who are LGBTQ, ourselves who are LGBTQ, our coworkers, etc., our neighbors. So PFLAG Greater Placer County offers resource information. We have support groups prior to our monthly meetings, one for parents, family, and friends who may have had someone come out to them recently and they want to know how to support them, or they're maybe needing help to understand what's happening. And we also have a support group for transgender individuals who are on that journey and need some support from other trans individuals and resource information. We have our monthly general meetings, which also have educational programming. Our membership and our folks that show up, we have about 50% allies, 50% LGBT folks that come to our meetings. It's a really wonderful group of people, and every month we all leave there going, I am so glad I made the effort to go tonight because we all feel very safe and loved in that space. And I learned a lot. We always have a film or a speaker or a panel. We do advocacy. Some of us are going to school board meetings, writing letters, meeting with various administrators from different school districts to try and help educate them about the ways they can support the LGBTQ youth and how some of these policies are very harmful. We do outreach and visibility at events like Placer Pride, which we'll be having our 3rd annual in-person Placer Pride on May 18th at Royer Park in Roseville. So put that on your calendar. We offer scholarships for local seniors who are graduating from high school and going on to junior college or technical schools. We're supporting efforts to create an LGBTQ plus center here in Placer County, a resource center, because the closest one is in Sacramento, and that's, it's a ways away. Not everybody can get there, and we need one here. We're also supporting efforts of the Placer Community Endowment Fund. It's going to be a $3 million endowment fund to support programs and resources for LGBTQ youth families. The title of the fund is the Unity for Equality Endowment Fund. So be watching for that. I don't know if it's up on the website yet, but that's a huge commitment, and we're going after, people that have lots of money to give, but also people that just have a little bit of money to give. And we're going to build this fund up and then have it be there and use the interest from it to fund these programs and projects so that it goes on in perpetuity. So that's the game plan. So these are challenging times, scapegoating of trans youth. There were basically focus groups that the GOP held about, what are some issues that we can get people rallied around so that we can get them to send us money, right? And so few people know about what it means to be trans, and a lot of people have a lot of fear about it if they don't understand it. So bingo, that's our bugaboo, our boogeyman that we're gonna bring out and get people scared so that they send us money. And it was from a focus group, and these poor youth are struggling as if they weren't struggling enough already, right? Because a lot of them, studies show, don't have support at home. The place where they get support is at school from a teacher, right? Or an administrator or a counselor. And now at school, if they come out, some of these schools are requiring teachers to out these kids to their parents. Yep. Coming out is a very personal process. And we tell youth that we work with, don't come out until you feel ready and safe to do so. So we're trying to educate, some of these board members who have fallen for the, scary tactics, but we need to stand up for these youth and also adults. I know trans adults who are every day, when they go out into public, am I safe? They have an app on their phone so they can check in with their loved ones. Hey, I went on a date, and I have to tell you I'm safe. I have friends that will check in with me so that I know they're safe. So I'm sorry, I get emotional about these things, not just because of the fact that we're here today. And there's my mom and Millie back there looking at us. and some of you know my mom, know that she had the opportunity to meet Dr. King when she was a kid. He came to a progressive school that she was at and spoke to them. And so she's been a cheerleader ever since, even when she's not here anymore. So thank you. Paul and I will be back there if you would like to come and speak with us about any of the above. And thank you so much, Natalie.
Okay, so I'm gonna invite up Jamie Ross and Sarah Liebert to kind of talk about this local fight that we're having right now. I don't know if I'm involved, but I want to help. I want to help it, and maybe they can kind of explain what's going on locally. Yeah.
Thank you. Just so you know, all teachers don't wear tie-dyes. You just happen to know. The first thing I want to do is, I love you. Like, I don't think we hear the word love enough. And I think we've been so distracted by politics that we forget the reasons we're here. So I really, connection's really important in general, but to being human, right? So if you could just look at your neighbor and in your form of the word, I love you, just hug, handshake, high five, just tell your neighbors that you love them.
Love you,
Hey, love you, man.
Love you, buddy.
Yeah, all of that. Thank you.
On that note, it is an honor and a privilege to join you all today. Under the very guidance and philosophy of MLK Jr., it wasn't until being on the school board this last year that I understood the true vision of Martin Luther King. It was from the school board where I saw politics take shape around parent choice, vaccination, curriculums, and students' environments. We see polarization of politics and political agendas as boards of education are going with extreme groups like Moms for Liberty. In Florida, we see book banning in books of Ruby Bridge. In Rockland, we saw LGBTQ+ students admonished for talking about their position on transgender and pronouns and for trusting their teachers. Parent choice means you know your child and your child feels comfortable telling you. Recently in Auburn, we saw consolidation of our most diverse school, Rock Creek, while attempting to rescind our diversity, equity, inclusion statement and refine our AUSD vision statement to take out the word global. Community means commonality. Our commonality is that we run off the same ambition, a hope for our children, a brighter future, and a joyful now. We embrace the differences and we use them as guiding principles for collaboration. Could you imagine if we were all rappers and this whole thing was filled with all rappers? It'd be the same. We want diversity. We get one viewpoint. The goal is to put as many perspectives as you can into that viewpoint. How are we going to enhance the viewpoint for tomorrow? What is our enhancement for tomorrow? Mine's to start with education. There are two ways in particular to create a society: education and entertainment. Our problems of today should not be the problems of tomorrow. And our problems of yesterday, we should not be trying to solve the same way. So let me just school you on some education. Back in the day, Horace Mann, he's the one that started school boards. And in 1830s, Horace Mann, a Massachusetts legislator and secretary of the State Board of Education, began to advocate for the creation of public schools that would be universally available to all children, free of charge, and funded by the state. The idea was to keep students occupied while parents were earning their profession. Students were taught the Bible verses as means of literature arts and learned to count, so they knew how to count their money. Socialization and building commonality. Our school systems started with reading the Bible, right? And I'm not for, against, or with anything. I'm just spitting out facts. Now you fast forward 100 years later, and we have Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. I'm not saying any of this was good or bad. I'm just stating the facts. The facts are, in that moment, for the first time, students of melanin skin were able to see teachers that looked like them. They were able to be taught in communities that served them. They were able to be taught by their aunties and their moms and their grandmas in a classroom full of children that looked just like them. Then, fast forward a little bit more, you have Brown versus Board, where we not said separate but equal, let's take some of our non-melanated students and put them in with melanated students. We said, no, let's close all the melanated schools. Let's fire all the melanated teachers, and let's put all these students in a white world where they're not necessarily accepted, liked, or even feel like they can thrive. This is what our foundation of public school is, right? So now we fast forward a little more. This kind of taught us who's in charge of the schools, right? And it also taught us the value of schools. Because while parents are going out to get their careers, their monies to pay the bills, the schools are socializing our children. And in another way, they're indoctrinating them. So who's in charge of our education is so important. Right now, we have 3 people on our Board of Education who disagree with the other 2, me maybe being one of them. And a lot of what we are saying is slipping through the policy cracks. So right now, our educational system in Auburn, California is policy-centered. Everything we do starts with policy. But what is education? Education is not a policy for our students. If you want them to socialize, then we have to show them how to socialize, right? So right now, themes are changing. Social emotional learning is becoming really, really important to us. Diversity is becoming important to us. Representation is becoming important to us. Curriculum is so important. So it's not just that we need you on the board, but we need your voices as far as what are we teaching our children. So with that note on what we are teaching our children, I want to introduce you to one of the most amazing teachers I have ever been in the classroom with, had the honor to know. This individual not only stands for love, but she also heads our teacher union. And without her, I don't think we would be where we are today. So if you could just give it up for Miss Liebert over here.
So Jamie did a really good job of explaining where we've been. Now I'm going to tell you down and dirty where we're at right now in Auburn. So we went through the consolidation of 2 schools last year. And now the board has said that they want to take away parent choice and say we're going to make the whole district a TK8. That is supposed to save $400,000. I can tell you right now it's going to cost a whole lot more to retrofit all 3 of our school sites to actually make them TK8. So the district keeps saying we're in a financial hardship. No, it's misuse of money. Let's be very clear. They have spent over $941,000 outsourcing. So when you think about that, $941,000 of outsourcing services. If they had paid teachers, which in the past 2 years, we've lost 2/3 of our teaching staff because they are underappreciated, underrespected, and they have left to work elsewhere. If they had compensated, we love our job, we love our students, we don't want to leave. But if they had put time and energy into their teachers, none of this would have happened. We've all would have stayed. So what we're asking is we have a petition that the community has said, we're done, we're dissatisfied. You keep moving forward with a plan, but let me tell you, there is no plan. These parents and community members have said enough. We are not going to let our children's education be damaged by your choices or lack of choices to make this happen. We are asking for accountability. We are asking for numbers, and we are asking for an educational system that our students deserve. We do not want to interrupt their learning. For many families, I was at Alta Vista for the past 10 years, and it closed. This is their third school in 3 years. How detrimental is that to a student and a family, a teacher? Your roots are in your community, which is your school. And you have it closed and to relocate because you have a choice. But now boundary lines are being drawn, and I'm sorry, you don't have that choice anymore. You get to go to another school. That is unacceptable. It is not okay. That is not what our kids deserve. It is not what is best for our students, because that creates more trauma and stress. So we are asking all of our community friends to sign this petition and say that you are dissatisfied. In addition, we are asking for community involvement, because unfortunately, this is not an AUSD problem. This is an Auburn problem. It affects your homes. It affects the community. It affects everyone. And by building together, we can let the district know that we are unsatisfied and that they need to do better. We all have a voice. You need to use it. You need to say that you are dissatisfied, because that is the only way anything will change. Thank you.
Also, in about 2 years, vote. If you don't vote for anything else, vote for these school boards. Because guess what? They laid it out. The ones who came in and are kind of wrecking shop, they didn't keep it a secret what their plan was. We're just not paying attention. So they have a very clear agenda. And Jamie mentioned social emotional learning. If you do go to Moms for Liberty, it's not just a hype that we're against or something, but maybe, definitely. But there is a literal document talking about how social emotional learning is a bad thing. So I suggest you look that up. It's pretty crazy. And it is an Auburn problem, and it is an AUSD problem, but it's a problem in America right now. This is happening all across the board. So watch the communities that get out of this. Watch the communities, just what the moves are. It's very deliberate. Like Ethel said, there's a 900-page manifesto about what is a plan for our country. Now, I'm not reading the 900 pages, but I do suggest going to a commentary, a YouTuber. You can go to any YouTuber. You could go to someone pro, against. I suggest listening to both sides, because we need to know. But 900 pages, they put 900 pages together. Just saying, 900 pages. So anyway, awareness is huge. We can do the next slide. Let me just kind of tell you, thank you for still being here. We're going to come back to Ethel after we do have our youth contest winner, who I haven't even met yet, so I'm excited. But first, actually go back one. Oh, wait. Oh, just kidding. Well, you know what? Come through. Come through. Okay, so this is Addison Horn. I have not met you before. And your speech was amazing, but part of the thing was you acted, you moved. Not a lot of people entered this contest, right? And it was just, kind of tell us what you think. It was pretty, doing the video, and I just appreciate because you set an example of being willing to go for it. And I hear you go for it a lot. You have a lot on your plate, huh? So, and you'd like to share the speech with everybody? Fantastic. Here you go. And this is Addison Horner. One more applause.
Here is my speech. I have a dream. These 4 remarkable words uttered by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. still leaves an impact over 60 years later. Today, I want to answer an important question. How will my generation ensure the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is remembered and his dream is kept alive? I want to start by asking my generation 3 simple questions. Do you serve? Do you know? And do you hope? And when I ask, do you serve, I'm asking if you are serving others. Humans are naturally selfish beings. I don't want my generation to get lost while worrying about themselves. In today's day and age, it seems many have the mindset of selfishness. When you are serving others, you feel humbled. If people took more time to step up and help those around them, I feel they would not be so caught up in their personal lives. Good citizens are always willing to serve others and have a responsibility to serve the people around them. Good citizens are not selfish. They work for the betterment of others and their community. A good citizen is the epitome of selflessness. When I ask, do you know? I'm asking if you are educating yourself. There are social issues and injustice still happening in the present day. It is our job to educate ourselves and be aware of the world happening around us. Find something you are passionate about. How can you make a difference as an individual? What actions will you take to solve these problems? I believe that if we realize the importance of awareness, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy of change will be preserved. I ask you, do you hope? I'm asking, do you still believe in the dream that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had? To preserve his legacy, we must have faith. Faith in the promise of a better world. This summer, I was fortunate enough to attend Girls State, a program where high school girls from all over the state spend a week structuring a mock government and learning about legal systems and procedures. There, I was in charge of an educational plank and heard the personal accounts of students from all around California. And there, I learned a valuable lesson of equity, how students from lower income areas had less accessible resources and equipment for their schools. I felt empowered hearing from their voices and realized the importance of financial equity and what that can mean for our students. Education is the foundation of the youth's future. It is our job to ensure that education is equally accessible to all students, regardless of their background or circumstances. I feel this can be translated into our everyday lives when we are considering how to make equity, access, and inclusion possible for all. What makes me hopeful is how much our society has changed since Dr. King's time and how we will continue to positively change. It is inspiring to see how we've grown from where we came from. His legacy is one of equality, peace, service, and faith. I find hope in how involved my generation is with activism, the people acting as advocates for social justice and change. As individuals, I am hopeful we will find a way to be united, because I believe unity and justice is how we will continue to remember the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., an individual whose impact has forever changed America. Thank you.
How do you follow that? All right, so the next slide, we're just kind of, we have just a couple next words, then we're going to have a closing and a raffle for a piece of art. But the next step, so I would like to invite Rocky and Ku up, if you want, or you want Rock?
Yeah.
Who will hold Rocky's phone for him? Maybe you, maybe will.
I got you, bro.
And I'll just start. So next steps. This is a very pivotal time in our community. And a lot of times we complain, we're not moving. I know I do that, but my complaining sometimes leads to a poof manifestation. It's very annoying to the people who live with me. But
basically, I'm seeing something different. You know, we always want mobilization after our inspiration, but I'm seeing something different. Like, Sarah, I gotta call you out real quick. I'm seeing accidental activists, like teachers organizing. How are you gonna make all the teachers mad? Like, that's not very smart. They know their stuff, right? But I'm seeing movement, and I'm seeing strategy, and I'm seeing people who maybe haven't been doing this, learning how to do this. And Hip Hop Congress, we're in a unique position. Like, if you need our support and our help, that's what we're here for. Well, if there's some organizing or some people you need or trainings or someone who can speak, that's not going to lose their job. I don't think I'll lose my job. I'm my boss, kind of. So I think I'm all right. So if you need people to be loud, if you need people to mobilize, like, that's what we're here for. And this is more, and Stan says it every year, like, this is more than an event to us. This is, what does our community need and how do we gather? So those next steps, it's so strange to say this because I've always been hopeful and then I wasn't. And I'm feeling it again. And I'm feeling like if we can just, again, strategize, come together. And you know, it is also a year of forgiveness. It's a year of coming together for the greater good. We can't hate our Trump-loving racist uncle. Well, maybe, I mean, but let's understand, like, I don't have one, thank God, my family is very progressive, but like, you know what I'm saying? We have to understand where it came from, and we are not satisfied, we're dissatisfied. Everybody's upset. I feel like there's been complacency in the Democratic Party and the DNC, which brought us here. Like, if you don't do anything, like, you're leaving room for everybody to be pissed off, and then someone to come in like, Swoop, look, I have charisma. Follow me. Bad charisma sometimes, a lot of times. So let's forgive. Let's understand each other. Let's listen to the bad news and the good news, and not everything's biased, but let's listen to those viewpoints and try to understand. Work smarter, not harder, strategize. Last thing I want to say is this is community. I love that Stan wanted to have us in circle and community with each other. I work hard, but I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I got this amazing team here. We had volunteers yesterday. Some aren't even here, but that beautiful board over there, advice on my silly grommets on the quotes. Like, we had a team come together. I'm so grateful. Copies made when copies needed to be made, and Staples was wilding. But anyway, this is the team, and we did this together. Many roles in a revolution, and I'm going to pass the microphone.
Wow. Please keep it rolling. Give me a second to think about that. How do I follow that? Well, for 15 years, I've been continuing to follow those lights as they light up in front of us. And I do believe that the path that you're on will continue to open up and show you more doors and more connections as you go. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the visionary mind of my beautiful wife, Natalie. If it wasn't for hip hop, the community and the culture that accepted me, embraced me when I was at my worst, helped me elevate myself to where I am today. And with so much to still learn and grow. I'm so grateful for the people in this room who, whether you know it or we've said your name yet, I take great inspiration from. Because like Natalie said, there's many roles in the revolution. There's many roles in the community. There's many roles that are still needed. Everybody has a skill or a gift that they could lend to this. Like Natalie said, we had people helping with the art side of it. We had people helping with the sound side of it. We had people step up for nearly everything this year. And I am so grateful for that. And that's what it's going to take moving forward, and us spreading our circles and connecting our circles in ways that work. Like Ethel said, we don't all have to agree. Like Stan said, we don't all have to agree on everything, but it's a matter of us seeing the bigger picture, having a vision, and holding that vision. You know, some people have to hold the vision, and we're proud to continue to push that line. Hold the line or push the line. But we all said, like Sarah said, it's our children's lives at stake as well. You know, wow, I didn't even know what I was going to say when I came up here, but I also want to shout out, like I said, all the people in the room that are here today. If you didn't know, there is a voter registration booth. Thank you for the AADC for being here today. Please register to vote if you aren't already. If you didn't know you could register at 16, you can. And continue to talk in political education. I'm not a party person, but I will continue to lift up the issues. I will continue to lift up the voices. And like our friends at the Poor People's Campaign in the back as well, continue to put impacted people to the forefront. We need to hear the testimonials and the stories because nothing else is going to work. We've fought for so long, but the thing that moves me the most is when I hear people share their stories. And I'm very grateful that this lens and connects a number of different things and issues in our community. When I hear people share their stories in our hip hop spaces, or what are you doing today? But the more important thing when we walk into a juvenile hall is, where were you? How are you? You know, and showing an example, demonstrating something that opens up the world. I was one of those kids in juvenile hall, and my world was very, very small. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that my world began to grow through hip hop and community building and the beautiful things we get to do. You know, so with that, there's room for all of us, and that's one thing I can lend to that, and I will continue to support efforts like the Poor People's Campaign to try to lift up these testimonials, to lift up these voices until we see the change. I think that's it.
Let's keep it going a little bit longer for Rocky and Natalie and Auburn Ca. When I look around this room, I realize how far we've come in the last 15 years, right? When we went out on the march and we saw the Auburn Police Department, and a young person looked at me and they said, "The police are here to get us already?" And I said, "Nah, they're here with us." We've come a very, very long way, but we have a very long way to still go. I'm so very grateful to share this space with these amazing people and with all of you. And that being said, thank you very much for coming. We look forward to many, many more years like this. And let's keep the fight going.
Keep it going for 2 days. I didn't know what he was going to say, so I will add one more thing. We are in an epidemic of drug addiction, of fentanyl, and me and Ku, I'm so grateful to be here with my brother on the front lines, able to go into the hall, able to go into these spaces, able to work with youth as they reach out. Sometimes the opportunity is a pinhole. Sometimes it's the stars aligning and being able to see that, right? But I just wanted to lift that up because we need more approaches. We need more people. We need more awareness. But like, we can't just focus on the prevention side. We have to focus on harm reduction. We have to look to the future. We have to step up as ourselves because our systems aren't going to do it for us. There was a situation up in Forest Hill recently where Narcan was not available when the police arrived, when the ambulance arrived. That's insane. We're doing work to try to combat that and increase availability and where the need actually exists. And that's where we need to meet people, is where that need actually exists. So please talk to us about any of the issues lifted up today and see how we can all work together and support. Also, there's 2 petitions. One's a climate petition from the Sacramento Climate Coalition, and I'm asking you to sign something that you don't take the time to learn about. Please read it, take the time to learn about it and decide for yourself. But do it while you're here because we have the opportunity directly to take it to the Capitol. Same with the school. There's a QR code right here that you can pull it up on your phone. This is one step. We might get a paper one after that, but your email is going to matter when you sign up. So So please, everybody look around the room, and anybody that's here with something that you could learn about or sign, take the time to. We need that LGBTQ Youth Center. We need youth and adults need it. We need mental health supports better. We need to fix these problems, and like the Panthers, do it until it's done. You know. All right, I could go on for days, but I just wanted to lift up some of the people in the room and thank you all for being here today, for your part, for the work that you do in and out of these rooms.
But don't leave. Yes, give a round of applause for yourself. So we are going to do a closing. I do want to let everybody know. We'll do the raffle right after. There are these postcards, and I did them last year. You can fill this out with a commitment, and we'll mail it back to you. But the truth is, you know, we can do this, and it's cute, and it feels special. But just do something. Just commit, man. Like, you don't have to do homework this time. But if you do, I will mail it back to you, and it does feel special. So these are here, and then I think I'm gonna, so you had another thing. Okay, so we're gonna bring Ethel back, and then Stan's gonna close us out, and we'll do the raffle.
Wow, Auburn, show some love to yourself. Come on, man. So just think about, we're multiplied like this all across this country. And one of the things that I wanted to bring is Oakland specific, but it could be Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It could be Chicago, Illinois. I sort of went through a list of how we can progress forward in this electoral process, combining our issue-driven effort with electoral ones. And so I want to share the example from Oakland of standing united against hate. One, I want to prepare you that when you bring your stuff together, you will be attacked. So in Oakland right now, we've been up against billionaires, and we fought them successfully, but they had 20 years of hold on our school board. And they closed dozens of schools, pushed so many poor people, so many people of color out of the city of Oakland. And I am not exaggerating. Moms for Housing that blew up in the world is because of the extreme amount of housing insecurity, and both on a legacy, not only of resistance, but of liberation, that these moms stood up. And I want to share when Natalie says there is a place for all of us in this change we have to make. This demonstrates just a little bit. So it's maybe your place is not to be, or your comfort level is not to be on the front lines. Sometimes we don't choose it. Life chooses it for us. But we need that hard, critical analysis so that we can build that unity between the people facing a commonality of poverty. So I wanted to share, as our last component, what the Care for Community, the Moms for Housing have presented and make available. And you might think about doing something similar for your community, and we link it, how we link this up. So this is in regards to, I don't remember the sister's name, are you the school board member or, powerful stuff. As well as the union rep and teacher. This is how we've been trying to blend these things in Oakland. So if we can make, just as an example, but it's one of many. In Pittsburgh, they have been consciously putting together cultural artists and organizers like ourselves. You say, well, of course, duh, isn't that a given? But no, a lot of times we get siloed. And this is really an appeal. We cannot go forward being siloed. And I think Rocky, Natalie, and the other brother really, illustrated that. So if you could play that part, and Arlene will jump up and show you some tools that we use real quick for that. Thank you. Is it? Yeah. It's supposed to start at a moral revival in America. You will hear from fighters active in it is, but it needs to be in close. I want you to have to listen all my year. I'm so sorry. See, I'm not over. The first presenters you will be hearing are also trainers. They are Nicole Dean and Dominique Walker, and they will be the narrators of this segment. Dominique Walker is the founder of one of the founders of Moms for Housing, along with our own Kara Fife, who is now a councilwoman. Thank you.
This is a training about Oakland's role in the fight against the right. Because a lot of times, right, we don't think that there is a right wing in the Bay Area. Sometimes people think that, like, oh, we're progressive here, like we don't have those people here, and it's just not true. So that's what we're gonna talk about. The Bay Area is a place of international political significance. There is more wealth and power concentrated in the Bay Area than any other region in the world. Some of the biggest corporations in the world are based here: Wells Fargo, Visa, PG&E, Clorox, Kaiser, Twitter. That's just San Francisco and Oakland. We've also got Chevron, which is the second largest oil company in the world. That's located in Contra Costa County. Plus, the Bay is home to Silicon Valley, which houses like Apple, Google, Facebook, all the things. California has more billionaires than any other state, 186 of them to be exact, and 116 of those billionaires live here in the Bay Area. The Port of Oakland is the primary ocean gateway for international cargo in Northern California. It's a major hub for international commerce. And UC Berkeley is widely regarded to be one of the top public universities in the world. And it is a place that educates a lot of the people who go on to become these billionaires and governors and judges and senators. So there's a lot going on. And all of this stuff that's going on, the cities, San Francisco, Oakland, the corporations, the billionaires, the port, the university, all that exists on stolen land as a result of a genocide against the Ohlone, the Ramaytush, and other indigenous people. The political, economic, social systems in the Bay Area are predatory white nationalist systems. So I want to make that clear. That's like the political assumption that we're starting from here. And the history of the Bay Area, while it is a history of racist and capitalist oppression, it is also a history of radical resistance. The Bay Area historically has been the birthplace and a hotspot of militant movements for racial and gender justice, anti-war, anti-imperialism, and anti-capitalism. Of course, most notably, Oakland is the birthplace of the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Because of the strength of these resistance movements, we have the most progressive, the leftist city, county, and state governments with the most robust social safety net. It's not enough, it's not good enough, but the Bay Area basically creates the progressive ceiling for policies nationwide. So for example, when the pandemic hit, the Oakland City Council passed the strongest eviction moratorium in the country. Oakland sets the standard for the strongest protections that tenants can get, and because we set that standard here, the National Association of Realtors spends big money to fight pro-tenant candidates in local elections. Like they spent $1 million on the Berkeley Rent Board election in 2020 to try to stop Dominique from getting elected, which they failed to do. They basically just threw $1 million down the drain, trying to stop her and her slate. But they're doing that for a reason. They're a national landlord real estate lobby, and like what happens in Berkeley and Oakland is very, very important to them. So the right wing understands the significance of the Bay Area, and we can see that in how the right wing organizes here and how the Bay Area fits into their strategy as they contest for power nationally. The alt-right tried to take power in Berkeley in 2017. And in the last few years, there's been a major national right wing focus on San Francisco with successful recalls of a progressive district attorney and the school board. And this is a screen cap from Ron DeSantis, who sucks, and is running for president. He traveled to San Francisco to film his campaign ad. That's for a reason. His campaign ad focused on homelessness in San Francisco. And that's important because basically hating on homeless people is playing a more and more central role in the authoritarian rights recruitment efforts. So it's similar to like how the alt-right used misogyny, like the hatred of women. They used that to attract lonely, alienated young men into the alt-right. So now they're strategically exploiting people's frustrations and fears about growing homelessness to create a pipeline into extreme right-wing ideology. I'm going to explain how and why they do that. It's a convenient issue for the right because Black people, queer and trans people, and disabled people, all groups that experience structural oppression in the status quo system.
You want to let them know we're going to move forward?
Yes, we should definitely move forward. But just to give you an example, this is a part of a two-hour strategy. We reduced it for this teach-in, or rather dialogue, to 20 minutes. And if you go to the read.org, and then Natalie will let you know the link, and you can see the full print, but 20 minutes. But you can see this thing about being intentional about building understanding the interconnection and then teaching about the interconnection, so that the question of how our communities are in community together and who is attacking us is not left up for question. We're being explicit, and we're going to need to do that because we beat them. We kicked them off of our school board.
Good.
Our mayor who's been in for 1 year, and they're coming after our district attorney. And now we want to share with you how they've done it, because I'll tell you, school board member, get ready for it. That's going to be really
You too? We good?
Oakland is the hard target. Unlike Frisco, Oakland has been trending left instead of right since 2020. In 2020, Oakland housing justice organizer Carol Fife was elected to Oakland City Council. Last year, moderately progressive Shane Tao beat right-wing neoliberal Lauren Taylor in the mayor's race, and Pamela Price won a district attorney's seat, running on a platform of ending youth incarceration and holding police officers accountable for misconduct. Governance in Oakland has moved significantly to the left in the last 3 years. The right is investing in attacking and trying to break the progressive movement in Oakland. That's why we need to continue to escalate our organizing and to build on the wins we've gotten so far, rather than resting on our laurels.
Okay, we saw in San Francisco how these right-wing institutions like the Manhattan Institute and Prager University work to create this dominant narrative about homelessness to change the politics. We see how once the right establishes a dominant narrative, the moderate and liberal Democrats start to cater to that narrative, and they're really following the leadership of right-wing fascists. Anybody heard the phrase, like, if you scratch a liberal, you'll get a fascist bleeds? That's kind of what we see. So what we're saying is, like, narratives are a form of power. Establishing the dominant narrative is a big part of every political fight. It's an important form of power that sets the stage and cuts the terrain that we have to struggle on. Narratives can connect and mobilize people, or isolate and divide people. It can uphold power relationships, or it can challenge power relationships. And there's a right-wing effort underway right now to establish a dominant narrative in Oakland, and we call that narrative the defund doom loop. They say that an organized lie would be an unorganized truth.
Yes.
They'll just repeat it over, like he said, over. They'll say it. It can be a lie, and they will just say it over and over again. Like the idea that OPD has been defunded. That's not true. They get more money every single year, but they've said it so much that people, we knock on doors every single week, and people tell us, well, they defunded the police. People believe it. That's what we're talking about here, and I'll pass it down to you now.
Thanks, Nicole. And let's look at a recent example. Bishop Bob Jackson wrote an op-ed for the Daily Mail. And the Daily Mail is a British tabloid newspaper and website. And the headline read, quote, "Black people in Oakland are living in a lawless nightmare of streets turned into shooting galleries, thanks to the radical defund the police anarchists. We can't let them condemn us all to hell." So yeah, that's like a quote from what he wrote. And the defund doom loop is a fundamentally racist, specifically anti-Black narrative. And the bottom line of the narrative is that without a highly funded police state that is empowered to violate the civil rights of Black people without consequences, the inherently criminal, dangerous, violent Black population will turn the city into a lawless hell where no one is safe. That's the whole point of this narrative, is to demonize Black people and scapegoat us for all of society's problems.
While not providing any solutions to the systematic problems and systematic genocide that's happening. That's right.
All right, so in order to establish this kind of narrative successfully.
Okay, except for wanting me to come up, right? So I'm up.
Thank you.
So with that being said, my name is Arlene Hip. I'm a member of the Laney College Poor People's Campaign. I joined because of student housing. My niche is housing and homelessness because it's grown beyond measure. So with that being said, when you look at the situations that's going on, basic needs, housing, education, food, economics, disability, veterans, et cetera, LGBTQ plus. If I'm missing any alphabets, please forgive me. It's no offense to anybody. I'm just a little nervous. But with that being said, all of these areas intersect. In the Poor People's Campaign, they said, poverty is the 4th largest killer. We need people to tell their stories, chronicle them, and find bases to join, because we have to unite. We have to stop being separate, because all of these issues, they all intersect.
Yeah.
There's a common thread through each and every one of them. And in order for us to win, we're going to have to look at the commonality and stop looking at the things that are not the same. We have too much going on and we have too much to lose. So I really want people to keep this in mind. Please tell people, tell your stories. Please tell people to share your stories. Please tell people to come and find a place where they can serve, because everybody has a gift, like it was said. Spread the word. This is the only way we'll win. And we use it, oh yeah, the People's Tribune, thank you. The People's Tribune is on the Laney College Poor People's website. And they write stories. They tell their stories in the Tribune. So if anybody knows anybody that wants to tell a story, please reach out to them. The contact information is below. We need people to tell their story. We need more information to go out so that we can share this. It's important. Everybody has stories to tell, and those who have been the most impacted, the most traumatized, need to tell the stories the most. So please share this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'd like to invite you. We've been this far, now we have to act. Let's stand up and act like we know each other, we care about one another, shoulder to shoulder. Move around, let's make a nice circle. Let's make a nice circle. Not a square circle, around. We have heard inclusion, we have had merging, we have heard coming together. How is it that we can come together? Look at your neighbors, look at this. This is it. We're not getting ready for something. This is real life right now. This is real as it's gonna get. So who are we? We know all around us. We've heard the stories today. There's peril all around us. I know there's something inside of us that is greater than that. It's a great unity. There is something higher than all of that. Let's bring it out, Auburn. The medicine of Auburn. You get a real circle here. The medicine of Auburn. We may not be the brightest, the biggest, the most shiny, or the glitteriest of any of it. Auburn brings the confluence. We are a confluence area, which means where everything, all the small streams float and become one big stream. 3 miles from here, our river is a confluence. It teaches this. I want to give this, you're on native ground. Stand tall, hold your ground. We've been here, we've been watching, we've been waiting. Now is the time. How do we make our dreams come true? You have to wake up to practicality. You have to have a practical awakening. And it's all of us. If you don't know what to do, please come help Auburn Hip Hop Congress. Volunteer. Humble yourself. You don't have to be known or shown or anything. Volunteer. Help somebody who knows what they're doing already if you don't know what to do. Natalie, we're going to, maybe you do it. In the spirit of generosity, because when it all comes down, generating and giving willingly, giving and receiving.
Last 3 numbers are?
6-4.
Just kidding.
8-4.
Have been sung. Let them live on now. They're real. Let them live forever. We're on sacred ground. We're on firm ground. Our mother, the earth, is not going anywhere. We are. Where are we going? Peace to everybody.
There was a request for some question answer. I don't know if you're down, if anybody, and we don't have to do a big thing. Like if you want to come talk with Ethel, come and we can talk with each other, build with each other. Thank you all. Go forward.
Thanks, man. Yes. Yeah, I was expecting it. I was like, what? Okay, yay. Bring the gift of your presence and you leave with a For sure.
Peace, everyone. Thank you for joining. This will be available on YouTube and Facebook here forward, so feel free to share it stuff.